Joe Rogan recently signed a deal with Spotify, where it has been reported that it's worth more than $100 million. Here's how the MMA community reacted to the news.
Hello everybody, I have an announcement. The podcast is moving to Spotify. I signed a multi-year licensing agreement with Spotify that will start on September 1st. Starting on September 1st, the entire JRE library will be available on Spotify as well as all the other platforms. Then somewhere around the end of the year, it will become exclusive to Spotify, including the video version of the podcast. It will be the exact same show. I am not going to be an employee of Spotify. We're going to be working with the same crew, doing the exact same show. The only difference will be it will now be available on the largest audio platform in the world. Nothing else will change. It will be free. It will be free to you. You just have to go to Spotify to get it. We're very excited to begin this new chapter of the JRE, and I hope you're there when we cross over. Thanks.
A 3-round women's flyweight bout between Paige VanZant versus Amanda Ribas has been targeted for UFC 251. Paige VanZant is coming off a submission victory over Rachel Ostovich, and Amanda Ribas is coming off a unanimous decision win over Randa Marcos.
Vamos arriba, lo se fue.
Matt Serra on the UFC Unfiltered podcast explains why he's so excited for Khabib versus Gaethje.
I've always thought, and I've said this before Tony and Justin Gaethje fought, that Gaethje versus Khabib is the fight, because styles make fights, like we were just talking about with Gilbert Burns and Woodley. Styles really make such a difference. Tony, as tough as he is, and I feel that a lot would be determined if he could do something from his back, because he'd be getting down, he'd be taken down. That's where Eddie Bravo really would have been utilized in a corner. You know what I mean? Like, could he do something with the rubber guard? Could he tie him up? You know, could Khabib deal with that kind of offensive thing off his game off his back, like aggressive guard? Yeah. But now you got Justin Gaethje, who's such a stud wrestler. He used it to keep the fight up. He's shown that his gas tank is at top notch. He's never looked better.
Kenny Florian on the UFC Unfiltered podcast breaks down the fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje.
Listen, I agree with you. I think it's an amazing matchup. You know, Gaethje, he doesn't utilize his wrestling offensively. He definitely utilizes it defensively. Apparently, that's what he was known for also in college. His defensive wrestling ability, his ability to sprawl. That's what you need against someone like Khabib. You need to keep that fight on the feet. And I think everyone would agree, if that fight stays on the feet, Gaethje increases his chances of getting that knockout. And, you know, I think for Ferguson, as good as he is, and yes, he could beat Khabib. Obviously, that's a possibility. But Khabib's style, it's like, you know, with that kind of pressure passing style where he's low and tight, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. There's not a whole lot of, you know, space for you to kind of work a submission in the transition. So for Ferguson, I didn't think that was the best matchup. For Gaethje, I agree with you. I think, you know, his wrestling style, his hard-hitting style, I think he can match up really good against Khabib. If I had to pick right now, I would probably be leaning towards Khabib until I can see someone actually stop Khabib from taking him down and utilizing that ground and pound. How can you go against a guy who's been undefeated for this long? But I do think that if there's one guy who could pull it off and get a knockout, it's Gaethje. I really do. He fought, I think, in one of his early fights, I remember because I called it, a guy named Kamal Shalarus, who is an Iranian guy who he wrestled at the international level, I believe. Not like a medalist or anything like that, but I would compare it about that, you know, level, but he wasn't exactly the best striker, right? Kamal wasn't the best striker. And I think the way that Kamal integrated his wrestling compared to how Khabib integrates his wrestling for MMA was different. I mean, Khabib really knows how to utilize wrestling for MMA. And I think that was a big difference coming in. He took down Kamal easily and just kind of mopped the floor with him, really. So I don't know, and it could go down that way. Khabib is an absolute monster, man, and I don't know if we've seen anyone as dominant with him with that wrestling ground and pound style in 2020. Like, that's a style from like early 2000s, you know, where the Mark Colemans, the Mark Kerrs, and all those guys were really successful. We're seeing that same style effective in 2020. It's pretty mind-boggling, man. That's how good he is. It's a factor, man. I think that's a great point. You do become susceptible, especially if you're attacking like the upper level of the quad, because the higher that leg goes, like right around that waist level, it can be easy for Khabib to kind of time that double leg takedown. I think he either should go high or start doing those calf kicks that everybody's doing now. Matty, no one was really doing that when we were fighting, I feel like. Now, exactly. Saved our legs. Now everybody's throwing those damn calf kicks. That is a real pain in the ass. It's hard to block. It's hard to hit a takedown off of those things. So I think Gaethje should maybe switch it up. If he's going to throw those leg kicks, do it that way.
Let me tell you something. When you have a pretty face and you take care of your skin, you get cut very easy. But a little superficial cut has nothing to do with damage. You guys understand? Vocês estão entendendo o que eu tô falando? Isso aqui é corte superficial.
You know, guys, when you have such beautiful skin, then you don't bruise as easily when your skin is so beautiful. Also, when you have huge fake, you have to cut an extra 2 pounds of water. It's easier to cut, you guys. It does not mean you got hit with more damage.
And Michael Bisping on the Believe in Me podcast breaks down how John Jones could defeat Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, that's a massive step up. I mean, let's just talk about Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes. Hey, great fighters, amazing fighters, right? And they get the job done on the feet. And Santos has been knocking people out. And Dominic Reyes was undefeated. And he took Jones, gave Jones everything he could muster. I thought he won the decision. Whatever. Jones got the job done, got his hand raised. Francis Ngannou is a completely different animal. He's a completely different... Have you seen the size of him? He's gigantic, and when he connects with people, they go to sleep. Look what he did to Cain Velasquez, one tiny little tap. So for Jones, he knows that. He's a very, very smart fighter. He's very cerebral. He's going to come up with a tremendous game plan. What's that game plan going to consist of? Well, it's going to consist of taking him down. It has to. That's the way to beat Francis Ngannou. You have to take him down. I think he could. Could he keep him there? And could he do enough damage whilst he's down, to make it really worthwhile? That remains to be seen, and that's what makes this interesting, because Jones has always had good wrestling. In his early days, he would take people down and just destroy them with elbows. So that would have to be the game plan, because there's no way Jones is going to stand and go toe-to-toe. Can he wrestle him? And if Jones can wrestle him, then that means DC can wrestle him. Well, as I said a moment ago, he's definitely going to wrestle him. That's for sure. And if you look at Stipe, that was his path to success, right? He essentially out-wrestled him. He used some smart head movement. He had excellent footwork. And he also hit the takedowns when the time was right. And then as the fight progressed, Ngannou got more and more tired. And then Stipe started to take over with the hands as well. Happens every time. That's mixed martial arts. Once you start getting wrestled, it messes with your mind, and then you start getting outstruck on the feet. That's just the way it goes down. And if Stipe could do that, then yeah, I reckon DC could do that. I don't know if Jones could. And I'm not saying that Jones could beat DC, because as we've seen, Jones beat him twice, but still, styles make fights. We hear that all the time. And I think Jones's style, whilst being a good wrestler, I don't know. I just want to see it. Well, that's what Jones is alluding to. That's what he said. He said, what, you're just going to come out here and swing, close your eyes and swing for the fences and hope that one of those punches connects? And I see his point, but there's more to it. Ngannou's better than that. He's not just a big, powerful. He's super athletic. He's very, very fast, and he's getting better and better at defending takedowns all the time. So this would be a chance for John Jones. I mean, as we know, anytime we talk, there's all these conversations all the time about greatest of all time, right? And who is that person, pardon me? And it's generally the same names. It's Demetrius Johnson was thrown around for a while. George St. Pierre has always been a front runner. Anderson Silva in his prime. Daniel Cormier is in discussion, and John Jones. And people always kind of say, well, Jones has the 2 steroid allegations, right? And that's why predominantly people pick George St. Pierre over John Jones. If Jones was to move up to heavyweight, take out Francis Ngannou, become heavyweight champion, and then defend the belt a few times, I believe that would eradicate any doubt whatsoever that Jones is the greatest of all time. because right now it's probably his GSP or DC. DC won the so the belt at heavyweight, but Jones beat him twice. Okay, picograms, all that bullshit, but still, facts remain, he beat him twice. For Jones to come out and truly be the greatest of all time and earn that right, because he has earned that right. Right, and if he is innocent, then I feel sorry for him regarding the steroids and whatnot. Then there you go.